Star Trek Discovery, Episode 15, Will You Take My Hand? The Season 1 finale. I'm Joe. Richie could not be with us tonight. Richie has not caught up to me on Star Trek Discovery, and by not caught up, I mean he has not watched the pilot yet. That being said, he did a fantastic review of 50 Shades Freed. There's a link to it. Please check it out if you want to have a couple chuckles, or if you really like the movie and want to get an alternate opinion on it. I've been doing these reviews the night of, and I wanted to not do the final episode the night of. I wanted to give myself 24 hours to let it stew in my head before I reviewed it. Mainly because I found this show to be complex and tough to give instant opinions on. And that kind of backfired on me because episode 15 was the simplest episode of the entire season. It was actually kind of refreshing in some ways and anticlimactic in other ways. As we know, they're going to spore drive into the caverns of Kronos. They're going to launch some plan that Emperor Georgiou has come up with that we don't know about. Burnham, Tyler, Tilly, and Georgiou go to Kronos. They go to Orion Town, I guess we can call it. Tilly figures out that she actually has a bomb and that her plan is that she's going to set off the volcanoes of Kronos and basically destroy the planet. And that's how they're gonna win the war. And that's how she did it in her universe. They find this out. Burnham goes back up, has an impassioned speech to the Admiral. They talk Starfleet out of this awful, not Federation, not Starfleet plan to commit genocide. And this is where it gets, I think, a little sloppy and a little just anticlimactic and a little like head scratching. So we've had L'Rell on the ship in the brig the whole time. Rather than blow up the planet, they give L'Rell her fancy white suit back, bring her down, and tell her they're gonna give her control over the bomb. In exchange, I guess, for calling off the war, which she does to unify the houses. She didn't seem like she was that upset with the war happening beforehand. So I don't know if it was the prospect of power, I don't know, but it was like odd motivations as to why that worked. But it worked. They gave L'Rell the bomb. Instead of blowing up the planet, they gave it to her. She went to the council, told them, lay down your arms or I'm gonna blow up the planet, and that's the end of the war. That was anticlimactic, to say the least. I don't mind though. I don't mind. I do not mind because I'm not comparing this show to the Best of Both Worlds, but remember, the Best of Both Worlds episode 2 was anticlimactic compared to the first episode that ended season 3. They made the Borg go to sleep. Now, it wasn't bad, it was well done science fiction, so the anticlimactic part of what happened in last night's episode I'm not overly upset about. It was just weird that all of a sudden, after 14 episodes of just outright craziness and this and that and twists and turns, they actually did something like a Star Trek episode that may make me hopeful for season 2. Now, as far as the character arcs that were kind of closed up, the biggest was that Michael was, after she basically saved, she came up with the great plan, and she was the one who kind of reminded everybody of the spirits of Starfleet, the spirit of the Federation, the principles of the Federation. She was given a full pardon, her record expunged, and her commission was returned to her. So she's once again Commander Burnham. And also a nice touch was that Sarah acknowledged her as his daughter, which I thought that was nice and touching. I wonder how it's going to play out with Spock, who they've clearly have now indicated will be around in the second season in some capacity. Journey to Babel, Spock and Sarek are estranged because of Spock's decision to join Starfleet instead of the Vulcan Science Academy. Maybe somehow that's going to tie into why Spock never talked about Michael. Now, obviously, Spock never talked about Michael because Michael was just made up for this show. Maybe Sarek and Michael ended up being closer and Spock harbored some resentment there, and that's why he never talked about her. So we had the softest of soft cliffhangers where they are warping to Vulcan to pick up their new captain, which is just code for when this episode was shot. We don't know who the captain will be in season 2. And they got the distress call from the Enterprise. I think that was supposed to be a mark out moment when the Enterprise showed up. It wasn't for me. I don't know why it wasn't for me. It almost felt kind of cheap. Like, we really have to bring in the Enterprise? We're that desperate to get people to subscribe next season that we're actually going to pull the Enterprise out of our ass? The last time I almost cried in the theater was at the end of Star Trek Beyond, when Ambassador Spock had died and Zachary Quinto's Spock was opening up the box of his effects, and there was publicity shot from Star Trek V. That was the last time I almost cried in a movie. That gave me bigger chills than just seeing the Enterprise at the end of Discovery. Why do they have to have a new captain? What, Saru didn't prove himself worthy of being captain? As I've said before, I am a fan of Saru. He didn't prove himself worthy of being a captain. Overall, this episode I have mixed feelings on. It was, I liked it. I liked the end. I just liked that, you know, they kind of reset the Michael Burnham character. She got her commission back, and she's an actual science officer, not the science specialist. And she, you know, she kind of learned her lesson, I guess. She was going to do something against the ideals of the Federation for what she felt was necessary. And at the end, she was the one that convinced them not to do possibly the most grotesque thing that ever would have been done on Star Trek, having the Federation actually commit genocide. So seemed like kind of like an easy one for her. As an editor myself, there was one point that I had to watch it twice. Her ending speech, they did some really horrible, like, time-shifting cuts where she's, that's Starfleet, yes, that's us, yes, that's me. It was, and then they're going through the different honors. That just really, I did not like the way that was cut at all. It made it actually seem like they were handing the award, and she's like, yes, indeed. Hand the next guy the award. That's Starfleet. It felt so, it was cut so crappy. As an editor, I just thought that was cut so awful. They should have just had her speech and then show the accolades be handed out. That was just awful editing. I'm sorry to whoever the editor was of this. I did not care for that. Maybe the director or the producer made you do it, editor. So if that's the case, I feel your pain. It sucks to have someone over your shoulder telling you how to edit. Episode 15 was anticlimactic, but at least it tied everything up nicely, and the story's complete, and the cliffhanger at the end with the Enterprise showing up was just a soft cliffhanger. They can go in any direction they want with that. They, you know, they could just be a standalone one-episode adventure to start the season next when it comes back, or God forbid they actually do another 15-episode arc run of something insane happening. Let's hope that doesn't happen. I'll be here to review them though. Why not? What the hell else am I gonna do? Star Trek Discovery Season 1 is a wrap. Overall, I think it was pretty good. There's a lot of missteps. There's a lot of issues I have with the show, but I enjoyed that Star Trek is back on television. I would enjoy it a heck of a lot more if it was on something that didn't require me to pay a separate fee, but Star Trek is Star Trek. Beggars can't be choosers. Please subscribe to our channel. We got a lot of great videos coming up. Once again, I'm Joe. Until next time.